Moin moin everyone out there. My name is Lars von Thienen. Welcome to the Foundation for the Study of Cycles and our weekly Cycles TV. We have Monday, we have time to talk on cycles. So thanks for joining me today. I have prepared some topics I want to talk to you today. So I just need to clean up my screen. I think you are live, so the chat is on. We are live today, so feel free to post me during the session your questions and I will try to answer them while we go, or at least at the end I will get back to your questions. So today we talk first about some new features we have pushed into production, and I'm sure you will like it, especially about the cycles phase and coloring indication. Second, I promised you last week on Monday, we will have a look at intraday cycle analysis. So therefore today we will pay attention at the 2-hour E-mini futures contract. And to see how it works, we had some questions last week, how to upload data, how to get this data into the platform, how to apply cycle analysis on this data set. So therefore I will show it to you today. While just set up front, we don't provide intraday data set as a foundation. You need to have the intraday data set on your own first, but I will show you the procedure and I will walk you through how to upload this data and how, just as an example, it has looked like during the last weeks on a 2-hour chart and how to use that. That's it for today. 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Let's see how we go. It's not scripted in detail, so I will walk you through as I will do it here live in my environment. So let's get into it. New features first. New features first. So let's have a look in our cycles application. If you start and open the application this way, let's browse to a simple index. So it's just showing the features, not the analysis in detail. Maybe you have realized that there's something new when you open this picture. The first thing you will recognize that the length of the cycles, which is shown here in this table, now has some strange color background, color indication, which is new. This color indicates the phase of this cycle. So the phase shows you where we are in this cycle in regards to, are we at a top, in a downtrend, or a bottom or uptrend? So the cycle has different phases. That's the phase of a cycle. So the color simply shows you where the cycle is at the current point in time. So at the point of the analysis, these cycles have been detected by our digital signal processing. That's the basic procedure. I will not explain it here. The peaks in the spectrum are the cycles which show up in the list here on the top. Normally you've just seen the length here, and now the color indicates you the phase. A green phase means it's in an upswing cycle. We can just simply check this while we have a closer look at this cycle here. There's also now a dot shown where we are, so to make it more easier to see the in-sample and out-of-sample period. And you can see I just picked this one cycle here, so with a length of 39 as an overlay. And you see the dot is here in the upswing phase, so it's colored green because this cycle has been rolled over to the positive momentum. As it is green, we are on this upswing of this cycle. So let's select a different cycle, which is red here on the list. So let's show this one here has a red background. Let's select this one as an overlay. And you see, if we zoom in, this cycle is in the downtrend phase. So this gives you a very quick view on where the cycles are at the current point in time. So I need to be careful, I need to move out. So right now, most of these cycles are in a positive situation, which is a very important information because you are looking for points in time when cycles get in sync in regards to their phase or their current positioning. So sometimes you see a mixture of red and green cycle phases. And last but not least, even more important is that you can hover over the chart on the time axis as I'm doing here. I can zoom in a little bit. And if you follow closely, if I move more into the future here with my browser, you see that the colors change on the right hand side in the table, which means that you at any given point in time in the future, the cycles will be updated and the color indicates you where these cycles are in regards to their phase. And you will look for moments in time in the future when most of these cycles roll over to a different phase. You see it here, it's green, and then they will roll over into a read period. So here we have a mixed period, or you can even go back in time into the past and see here where this big downtrend started, that all cycles, almost all cycles here, which you see on the list, are in the red status, which has then also given this sharp downturn because all cycles which are active on this at this given point in time have been negative. So you can just analyze in the past where these cycles have been. So if you scroll into this period where we had the strong up push, you see if I just hover with my mouse over this point in time, you see that in the table these cycles are indicated now by mainly a green back color information, which means at this given point in time in the past, these cycles have all been showing an upward cycle phase. And so you can clearly see that you're looking for points when these cycles turn. So here we had these red cycles, and at this given point in time you saw the low, and now you see that the reds more and more disappear and they have all rolled over to the green positive phase here. So besides detecting cycles in regards to their length, and this is now what makes it more simple for you to analyze cycles, you have a direct view on the current status of the cycle. But that's not all. If you build your composite, I mean, you follow the standard procedure, picking the right cycles. So the most dominant cycles out of the spectrum here, I will not go into the details here. So with the one with the length of 155, maybe the next one here with the length of 112. So you start to build your composite cycle here based on the length, based on the cycles which are most important based on their current length, which is the dynamic procedure to pick the cycles with the most important lengths. You see here at the top now, so that these are the two cycles which I have selected for this composite. And again, the coloring now shows you the phase of these two cycles. You see that one cycle, the 155, is still in the negative, while the one with the length of 112 has already rolled over to the positive side. So you can now hover over the data set. And again, if you don't want to follow all cycles, you can see that these two cycles here, and if you stop or pause for a moment while you hover, you can see how the background changes. So here the shorter one with the length of 112 days starts to phase out and has now at this given point rolled over to the positive side, which is what you will not see in the composite. So the composite is still pointing down here at this point in time. However, at this point in time here, the shorter cycle has already rolled over to the positive based on the green background coloring you see here. And even if we move over and you see that this push upwards here seems to be mostly influenced by the cycle with the length of 112. The longer term cycle with the length of 155 is still negative, which while we now move into the future, you see here in the future, this cycle is now, it's rolling over here at this point in time. So tomorrow, maybe the day after, this is then rolling over. So that's kind of similar to look for phase alignment of these different cycles here. So the cycle spectrum gives you the information which cycles to put an eye on. So the length, which cycles to pick for your projection. You can build a composite or the composite. And if you then just hover over the time axis with your cursor, you can at any given point see where the cycle faces based on the color coding. If you are familiar with the Hurst method, Hurst or the Hurst diamonds are only visible at the bottoms or tops, depends on how you project it. So with this feature, you can at any given point see if the cycle is in an upswing or if it's in a turnaround. So for all given cycles, and you look for clusters when the faces align or when faces start. That's not for detecting the exact turning point, but you can see when faces of all important cycle are in sync, they show the same direction. You should not look out for a turn in these phases. So turns either happen when you have a mixed picture or when all phases have been showing the same color and then they start to roll over. So during this period, that's always where the market consolidates or you see ups and down, but not the trend will then stop. And then you will have a point in time when the cycles roll over to a common red or green status afterwards. So then you will see maybe the forced downswing here. Okay, so some questions here rushing in. How is this new feature working doing best testing with 5 years? So it's not about back testing as it gives you trade statistics, but you can go as far as all data you have loaded on the chart. So this composite, I think here we have 850 bars, so 4 years of data. And you see this works at least until the first bar, which I've loaded on the chart here. So there's no limit. I mean, it's just projecting the cycles into the past and showing the status of this cycle. If you want to do kind of rolling backtest or rolling forecast, you need to adjust the anchor, so the start and the end point of the analysis, and walk forward then with your analysis. But that's maybe then a special topic for walk forward testing with this procedure here. Alan, Lars, can you explain in the left hand side square, it has probability phase etc. What does this means? You're talking about Alan, can you please give me an additional comment on which square you're looking on? Is this the dominant cycle square? I think there you see some figures, and then I will get back to your questions in a second here. Okay, but I want to stop here in regards to the new feature, which shows you the phase color coding for each detected cycle in the table, hovering over the timeline, selected the composite cycles or all cycles in the table. You just browse it, you see the phase right on your eyes with the color coding. So Alan, okay, so now before I jump to the intraday analysis, the question about this left-hand dominant cycle window, which is often a case for irritation and maybe also a case to add some explanations. I think I tried to explain this a lot of times, but let's get it started again. First, to make the analysis of the spectrum, which is shown here in the table on the right hand side, and the dominant cycle exactly the same, you need to adjust the settings how the cycle analysis should be performing on your end, because you can configure how each method or approach works. So first of this, go to the settings, and there are two sections which are important now. It's the cycle scanner section, which is the settings for the digital signal processing. So where you adjust how the spectrum plot might look and the table on the right hand side might be influenced. So first of all, you have the range settings. So in general, it looks for the whole range of possible cycles from a minimum length of 15, in this case days, and 400 days. So this is the full range, but you can also limit the range where you want the spectrum to look for cycles, but this is more, you should be aware of what you're doing. In general, start with the whole range where possible cycles could be. And then this is a throttle or a threshold limit, the Bartels limit, which filters the list. So cycles below a Bartels limit of 10 in this case will be filtered out, which is a very low limit. So it shows you all peaks in the spectrum. If you want to filter the spectrum and only see cycles which are more relevant in terms of statistical significance, you should put a higher Bartels limit in, which is, by the way, the procedure the dominant cycle approach is using. So therefore, to make the results look the same, put here a higher Bartels limit in. This will help you filtering out cycles which have a low statistical significance on your analysis. Said that first, that's the first important setting you need to do. Click Update, and you see now the list here on the right hand side has now shortened, and you see there are not as much cycles as before. This is related to the Bartels offset, so you will not see cycles below Bartels score of 49. Step 1. Step 2 is the dominant cycle is, from a mathematical point of view, the one with the highest strength score. So, which in this case you might wonder, okay, but it's now the cycle with a length of 78. Why is this a cycle with a length of 66? That's the second important setting. So we need to go back to our scanner. Now we need to move to the Explorer tab in the settings, and the Explorer tab is responsible how the dominant cycle, so the digital signal processing, is related to the dominant cycle detection. You have the similar settings for the scanner, the minimum and the maximum settings. You can narrow the band or even broaden the band. It's the same Bartels limit. That was the reason I also adjusted the settings on the other page to 49. So we can leave this setting alone, but then there are also the selection of the method how the dominant cycle detection should work. And here you see it's selected dynamic in sample range. If you wanted to perform exactly the same as the cycle scanner, you need to pick full in sample range and then click Update. And now you see that both results, so the top cycle in the list of active cycle with a length of 78 now, is exactly the same as in the window with the dominant cycle, which also shows now exactly the same cycle. So I wanted to explain this because often there are questions, why are they showing different numbers up? That's the first important point to understand. And maybe you might ask, Lars, why is there a difference then from the starting point? That's now to understand a little bit the purpose of these two approaches. There's for sure a reasoning behind. So first, the cycle scanner, so the spectrum, should be applied to the full range you have selected from start to end, so the in-sample period. So you could select 5,000 bars, 1,000 bars, 800, no matter you select as a user what's the period for your analysis. So the full in-sample range is used by the cycle scanner per day, and you can't change this for the scanner. And if you want to have exactly the same behavior in the Cycle Explorer for the dominant cycle, that's the reason you need to select full in-sample range. Use the same range. However, for the dominant Cycle Explorer, you can change the behavior now. And if you want to change this, you switch to dynamic in-sample range. So you might ask, what the hell is a dynamic in-sample range? So now the purpose of this scanner is to analyze what you have selected, and in the overall data set, you want to detect which cycles in regards to their length are active, are visible from a digital signal processing point of view. In the dominant cycle, that's the purpose now at the given point in time. So today, at the last data point of your data set. So today, you want to know what's the most current dominant cycle. And in order to detect the most current dominant cycle, you don't need 5,000 data points. So for example, if you have a very long range in your in-sample period, this will not help you to detect the exact dynamic cycle which is active now. So for example, the phase detection, where are you in the phase? And you know that the length, even though that in the overall data set with a very long in-sample range, you might detect a cycle with a length of 130, 120, whatever. But today this cycle has been shifted to a length of 125 instead of 130 in the overall period. But if you do projections into the future, it's more important to get the exact length today, not 1 year ago or 5 months ago as an average. Today, what's this length now? And therefore, you just need to analyze the current past, not 5 years of data to detect the phase and the status of this cycle. So therefore, the dynamic feature, and I stop here now because otherwise I will get too much into the details. The dynamic method is automatically just looking at the current past. So and therefore you will then might see a different outset. So in this case here, and that's now what you will see here, in general, in the overall data set about these 4-year periods, you have an average cycle with a length of 78, which is the most dominant one. However, if you just look at the current past, maybe a projection into the future, the cycle has a length of 66, which is maybe the deviation to the 78 is too great. So you should not look it. You should not use it because there's a kind of, they are jumping around, which means that you should not trust the projection anyhow. So this is also a measure where to understand, should I use this cycle for composite projection, yes or no, because there are also failures in cycle projection. And if you see large differences between the dominant cycle, so the current analysis and the long-term analysis, you see, okay, I don't have a valid stable result. If it would, in this case, be 74 instead of 78, this would be a perfect match because you allow 10-20% deviation. But I think this is slightly more than 10% now deviation, so maybe too much, so not trust this cycle. But that's the advanced understanding now of this method. But finally, to your question, Alan, sorry for that. This was just the introduction to understand this first upfront. What is about the box? And you see it here, it gives you some statistics of this cycle here. If I try to zoom in a little bit better here. So the length, I have explained about the length and what the difference might be to the other cycles. It shows you the status, that's the phase, then just the calculation when the next low and next top, but just mathematical. And then you get the profitability score at the bottom of this page here, which gives you a profitability of 65%. This is an hypothetical trading of this cycle in this period. So buying the lows and selling the tops of this cycle would have resulted in a profitability of 65% profitability, just trading tops and bottoms of this cycle. So therefore, that's the important topic. Phase score and phasing score are just mathematical scores talking about the status in this cycle, but that's the same as the color. It's just a different method. If you tune later on machine learning algorithms or bots or whatever, they need to work with mathematical numbers. So phase score and phasing score are just mathematical expressions for the phase. But you should look at the profitability, which is just testing, selling at tops, buying at bottoms of this cycle with a length of 66. Or to make it, and then I will stop here at this point. If you, again, full in sample range. So now we have the 78 cycle here. We can select it here in the dominant cycle. You also see now it's exactly the same cycle, which is shown here by the dominant and by the selected one. So this is now the profitability of 68% here. So it's even higher now. is just buying at the bottoms and selling at the tops in the detrended version. So not in the real data set. So it's always using a detrended version to calculate the profitability, because cycle analysis happens on the detrended data set. Important question, long time to talk on, but now I need to come to what I've promised last time. I see a lot of questions are rushing in, and I will come back to all the additional question at the end. But just in case you just want to see the intraday, let's now switch to the intraday analysis, because that's the second important topic for today, as I have promised. So how does intraday analysis works? First of all, you need to have a data source where to get your intraday data from. And then you need to export or save your data as a comma-separated values file on your computer. If you deal with this kind of data, you will know about it. Otherwise, I will just quickly show how this looks like. And here I have this kind of simple data set here. It's just an ASCII file. You need a header here, which tells you what data is in time, open, high, low, close. That's very simple. And then you get these data here. This is the time information. And then you get the open, high, low, close values here. The time in this case here is given as Unix timestamp in seconds. But for intraday data, you can also use normal timestamps and put it in there. So either the export directly allows you to export it in Unix timestamp, use it right away. You don't need to reform it in a readable date. If you have a readable date, you can also put a readable date in here. So the import will automatically detect this. So this is now a 2-hour data set of the E-mini futures for the last, I think, 2 weeks or whatever. So this is what you need to export first. Save this on your computer. And now we will switch to our platform, and I will show you how to upload now these kind of data sets. You switch to settings, my data sets, then upload new. There you need to pick the file I've just shown you. You will not see the selection box now. So now you could open this file on your computer, or you could, wait a second, I can show you, or you could drag and drop it on the screen. I just drag and drop it here in this box. And afterwards, you will see a quick indication. It has been detected here, how many data points have been read in. Normally, it automatically detects the bar-to-bar distance in minutes, which is here 120, which is 2-hour chart. You can give some session information, which is more optional. Then give it a data set. So I would call it E-mini 2-hour example. Save it, and now you have saved it to your local data file. And now you have an intraday data set, which can be analyzed as every data set with our routines. You see on the time axis, if you now scroll here, we see that we have one new data point at each new bar. And by the way, it only reads the close values. Yeah, so even if you have seen the open, high, low, and close data set in the ZSV file, it's only the close data point which is shown here, or which we are looking here. So, and automatically you see the spectrum here, the most important cycles. And now you do your analysis as always, and I will give you a quick basic procedure now, what I would recommend to do if you have these kinds of data set. And in order to do that, so this is today. I mean, this is the current 2-hour data, or 1 or 2 hours ago. I just grabbed this data here. So this is the current 2-hour chart from the E-mini futures on the S&P index. So let's go back in time before before the low arrived. So these are the important points in time where you want to see if cycles can guide you in detecting these moments here. So therefore, let's go to slightly before this low happened here. So this would be the starting point. So this is how you do it with the anchoring here, the right point of your data set. Then press refresh in order to update the analysis. So now our current data set starts at the 24th of January this year. So before this happened, you can press this I button just from a visual point of view to include or exclude the out of sample data in your view. So this is how it would like at this given point in time. And at this given point in time, everyone would be interested in, will the downtrend now continue or will it end at this point here? So this is where you start, or where always cycle analysis is important for us. But now the next step is you need to look that you have enough data on your chart here. So in this case, now we have only 728 data points for the analysis, which could be used, but I would always try to have at least 800 to 1000 data points on the chart. So in order to do this, we should load more data, which means we just press the maximum symbol here, which has then, we need to, why is it? Okay, yeah, it has, but I think now I've tricked myself. Yeah, you need to include it. So we have now loaded more data into the past, but for sure it's not the in-sample period. So now we need to adjust the left end of our analysis and also bring this more into the past. And therefore, you see at the top here with my cursor, there's a rolling number. I have also included this rolling number here. No, I cannot show it here, but I hope you can see it while I browse. It shows you the numbers, so it's the offset. So at the current point in time, this is 0. Yeah, and if you browse into the future, the number increases. And if you browse into the past, the number decreases. So you see the number of data points as lengths from the current point in time. So you can clearly see 800 to 1000 data points is somewhere at this point in time. We should anchor the starting point. So therefore we press this analysis here. Let's go back to somewhere here so that we have these close to 1000 data points, something like this. Then press refresh again. And now we have a data set I would qualify. This is valid for cycle analysis. First of it, we have these 900 data points in our in-sample period, which is good. Don't use more than 1000 if you're interested in the current moves, but at least 800. So 800 to 1000, it's the offset, which is a good point. And if you see how it looks like on the chart, if you have just a straight up line in this history, cycle analysis won't give you any clue. So, but in this case, on the 2-hour chart, we had some good ups and downs, which means that's qualified to do some cycle analysis on this kind of roadmap, how the price behaved on this 2-hour chart here. So, okay, that's just the preparation phase to see, does it make sense now to apply cycle analysis? And let's now move out the data in the future we are not aware of. So now let's do the standard procedure. In this case, we are looking for the most important dominant cycle here, which in the cycle scanner has a length of 146 days. And by the way, in this case, you also see that the dominant cycle, and I explained the difference in the analysis, has now a length of 143. So this is what I try to explain. If these are very close together, we have a high confidence that it makes sense to pick this cycle. If the dominant cycle would show maybe 91 and this one here is 146, then you would say, well, I don't know which one to pick, because we have here also the largest green triangle, which means the highest strength. In this case is 146. So 146 is here on the list. with the highest Bartle score. So this is the one to pick for our projection view. And I still keep it with the dominant cycle now. And now this preparation phase I just explained is very important, because this gives you confidence. Do I have enough data, but don't use too much data? Is the data I'm using for the ensample period really with some swings into it? If it's a straight line, you will not detect anything with digital signal processing. Is the dominant cycle in relation to the cycle which stands out in the spectrum closely related together? So I think just following this procedure, you will get some knowledge on how to use this approach, and everything qualifies. Great Bartle score, great strength, the way how the data sets looks, the amount of data points we have, this is all fine. So this is a way I would trust it. I mean, never trade just one cycle, but this is now the pure forecast at this given point here, just based on the dominant cycle. And if we put in the out of sample date, which you can see here, which was more or less this cycle here, projected a downward window at the given point in time here. So here between the 24th, 25, and projected the upswing here into the early days of February, which we know from today here, the top was coming in and here the low. So this upswing was exactly what has been projected by this cycle here. So this is before the fact, and this is what happened afterwards. Final comment on this: you know that you don't read these cycle projections as absolute price projections. These are just time-based projections. So we are just looking when these projections change in regards to the timing point. Don't use this for the scaled for absolute price projections here. That's it. So that's how it works on a 2-hour chart. And last but not least, if you know what the cycle, the dominant cycle on the 2-hour chart is, you could also use this information now to fine-tune your technical indicators on the price chart where you're watching this, because I will never use this cycle here for real-time entries and exit. This gives you a roadmap where to expect bottoms and top with the high chance might occur in the market. So therefore, and quick view now, and you can do this with any charting application. I just use TradingView as simple explanation here. This is the 2-hour chart in a charting application. And as always explained here, you can now optimize the result of any technical indicator. This is my favorite RSI indicator, which is available on the platform. It's free. Even the source code is there, but it's an optimized RSI. The important thing I want to outline here: we know that the dominant cycle had a length of 176 and no 146, I think was it. If you use half of the length of this dominant cycle as input for tuning the technical indicators, that's why in this case here I've chosen 75, which is more or less the half of the dominant cycle on the 2-hour chart as an input, which optimizes the readability of the signals from this technical indicator now. And as you see from a timing point of view, here we had the first situations where the signal crossed below the lower band back up, which would be the normal buy conditions from this indicator here. But if you combine this on the 20th of January, we had been in this even note in the top here. So when now this timing point here at the 24 has become in alignment with these signals here. So here are the signals now in the same window, I think the 24 here. So here are the signals when our cycle time information is now in alignment with the technical indicator on the price chart. So I think at this given point in time here, we have confirmation from price action in the projected timing window of the dominant cycle with the length of 146. So I will clean it up a little bit here. So this is now when you have confidence that your technical analysis on the chart, which in this case here is a simple indicator, exactly pulls out the signals at the given point in time when the cycle turns. So that's then when you have high confidence, and same then the only signal which is fired here at this given point in time, yeah, as a sell signal, which is then here on this chart. So this is then where the top was indicated on the on this point in time here. This is exactly at this given point in time here when the cycle turned at the top. So this is confirmation of technical analysis, just the length optimized based on the cycle, but this improves the readability of technical analysis combined with projections you receive from time-based cycle analysis on the intraday chart. Okay, I hope this explains a little bit how to do this on intraday data set and how to combine technical analysis, which is still important. Cycle analysis does not replace technical analysis. It's just an additional component of your knowledge on how to analyze financial markets, and it gives you an additional information in regards timing information. And this is what almost no technical analysis will give you: timing projection when turns might to happen. So it's a really important add-on. You get thousands of technical analysis which analyze price, but almost no technical analysis will analyze time. Cycles do analyze time, not price. Okay, that's it for today. We are running 45 minutes. I have promised you these two topics to talk about: the new cycles scanner features and to have an example on intraday. This is what I promised. This is what I delivered. So that's the key topic for today. But for sure, I will stay here as we are live and now go through your questions in the chat sections to help you a little bit. So just give me a moment to get back to your topics here. So, okay, is the auto scan feature going to be available again? The auto scan feature is yes. So the short answer is, Vandal, it will come back. So it's just removed on accident as we push this update here to the phase alignment. It will come back. That's the short answer. For the ones who might ask, what is he talking about, this auto scan feature? There is in the settings panel, and it's still there. There's this possibility to set the auto composite, the nominal cycle nearest fit model, which means that everyone can provide his own nominal model. In this case, it's preset by the Hurst nominal model for daily cycles. And if you activate this, there was a button which helped you then to select the auto composite, which then tries to detect the cycles which are nearest to your defined nominal model based on the list. So it's a kind of mixture on the static Hurst nominal cycle model combined with the dynamic detection, but the bottom has disappeared. Manuel, you're right, but it will get back. We just need to assign it here. What does nominal cycle nearest fit in auto stand for? I think this was related to my question. It's the nominal cycle nearest fit NCNF feature, which means you define your nominal cycles, and you could use any nominal cycles model, similar to the Hurst nominal cycles model, where he said we have the 20-day, the 40-day, the 10 weeks, the 20 weeks. So this is his nominal model. However, the real cycles are not exactly 20 days. There's a range then for this nominal cycle. And nearest fit means we're using our digital signal processing to check the 20-week cycle. We have a 16.2 weekly cycle, and the nearest fit will select this cycle which comes closest to the nominal model you have defined in this setting. That's the auto feature there. But as said, it will reappear during the next days. And then yes, thanks. Happy motoring. You like it. Thanks for your feedback. Eric, is it possible to integrate cycles longer than 400 days? Okay, right now the cycle spectrum is limited on the upper range at 400 bars. That's correct. We can change for and even extend it over the 400, but we needed to make a definition. And I think if you, so for example, let's say you have a daily chart. 400 days means that your 400 bars means 400 days a cycle, which means a cycle longer than 1 year or 52 weeks. So therefore, to detect cycles longer than 400 days, the recommendation would be switch to a weekly chart, weekly series. Then you have the same limit. So the limit is 400, but then you have 400 weeks limit, and check for the cycle length measured in weeks with the limit. And that's right, that the maximum being detected is 400 here. But the 400 is related to the data set. So it's not 400 days. It's 400, the length is limited to 400 related to the data set you're analyzing. So the simple recommendation is use weekly or monthly data sets. Then 400 is the same limit, but 400 then applies to weekly or monthly series. Okay, Eric, I hope this helps a little bit. Massimo, yeah, I think I explained on the auto nominal cycle nearest fit. I need to excuse. It's just on error, it disappeared, but during the next day it will show back. The correct ticker for crude oil. Can you help, please? I don't know the exact ticker, but I can tell you the way how to detect it. So the simplest way is move over to Yahoo Financial in your browser, Google Yahoo Financial, and on the Yahoo platform, let's make it together, on the Yahoo platform, search for crude oil or whatever ticker you're looking for, and then Yahoo Finance will show you a short ID, a ticker ID on the Yahoo platform, and use the exact same ticker symbol Yahoo Finance is using in the Cycles platform, just with the abbreviation JFA. So I will just show it you here in the browser. So for example, the ID for the S&P 500 is this here on Yahoo Finance, and we just add this at the end to pull up the Yahoo data set. So that's the general procedure, and that's how you can pull up any data set. Oh no, GSPC. Listen, always if doing live, you make errors, but I think this should be now the correct abbreviation, GSPC, and with this pre-symbol here, and then it pulls the data from Yahoo. But I think, Branimir, thank you. You already posted the ID for crude oil, which is using the same on Yahoo Finance. So just to check it, CL equals F. So the futures, this is the futures data for crude oil. And there you have it. So this is the ID. Use this to pull up crude oil. I already did this here in this chart. This is a daily chart. I think it's mixed up. You need to reload. But that's the symbol for crude oil as Branimir posted it. Yeah, thanks. That's the power of the community. This is what I want to see. Let's help each other here. Shoshian, Bitcoin. Let's Bitcoin do again next time. I'm very often reviewing Bitcoin, but we are running out of time for today. But I will promise the next week we will always have a look at Bitcoin. The main cycles have not changed. So I always said we are in this situation where the low should take place. There's no general change in that. Let's have a new, fresh look at it next week. I think this is it for today. I think I can see these are the main questions. So therefore, you're welcome every week. Please like the channel, subscribe to our channel, because this helps us as foundation to grow. We need you to grow. We are a non-profit organization. We're trying to bring across the knowledge on cycle analysis to you as membership. Therefore, please, I recommend, help us to improve the reach of our foundation. Like the channel, subscribe to the channel, recommend this channel to your friends, and then we grow as a community. Otherwise, I want to see you here back again next Monday, same time, same place. Let's talk on cycles again. Thanks for being with me today. Have a nice week and see you next time. Bye.